Hey, it's us again at Probably Unlimited Games, back with week 3 of Hunting in the Queen's Forest. This week was all about bringing the town to life. We're moving beyond gray cubes and resource counters into actual people with names, faces, and jobs. The village is starting to feel like a real community with its own rhythms and needs. Well, sort of. We've upgraded our UI to pull character names and pictures, and to display them properly. You now get to see exactly who you're keeping fed and warm. It's the beginnings of making the villagers feel like real people who are depending on you, instead of just models T-posing in the middle of the town square. Speaking of T-posing, we've implemented a simple villager system. Villagers are going to be the main NPCs you interact with when you get back to town. They're the quest givers, the workers, your neighbors, friends, and family. Each NPC has a role within the community, gathering wood, making arrows, building things, etc., etc. At least, that's how it will be, eventually. Meet Steve. Steve is our entire population. Steve is your only friend. Steve is, in fact, our only villager. And Steve, well, Steve stands perfectly motionless in town, nestled between two buildings, T-posing to assert his dominance over the entire village economy. Steve doesn't do much, but Steve gets the job done. When getting the job done means being the victim of our endless experiments. But, despite his intimidating stance and complete lack of animation, Steve has a very important role in the village. He's our test dummy. He eats your wood and meat every time you trigger the day-night cycle. And, more importantly, Steve can get sick if you don't manage resources properly. He's a very sickly man, so if he doesn't get at least one wood and one meat to eat every day, he has a 65% chance to fall ill, which allows us to make sure all of our systems are in place and operating correctly. But Steve has a name, a face in the UI, and a work ethic that would make any project manager weep with joy. Steve is basically carrying the entire town management system on his rigid, outstretched shoulders. Say hi, Steve! Steve doesn't talk much, but he grows on you, we promise. There's something absurdly beautiful about implementing sophisticated back-end systems while your entire game world is represented by one T-posing guy named Steve. We've got probability calculations for illnesses, a resource distribution system, character management data, and it all flows through one motionless figure asserting dominance in the town square. But that's prototype development for you. The systems work, the logic is sound, and Steve is the perfect test dummy. Say thank you, Steve. Steve is very flattered. So, to summarize, we've got character UI integration, job systems, health consequences, and Steve. Steve is doing the work of an entire village while maintaining perfect T-pose form. Honestly, we should all aspire to Steve's level of commitment. Next week, we'll be working on things like implementing the passage of time, because let's be real here, we all really need to stop and think about the significance of the passage of time. Without the passage of time, where would we be in life? Think about that. Anyway, we'll also be working on our inventory management system, and giving Steve something to do beyond eating wood all day, like turning that wood into arrows that you can use to refill your quiver. We might even get around to giving Steve a friend. Who knows? As always, feedback is appreciated. Like and subscribe, and see you next week, when hopefully Steve will have some friends. That way they can all T-pose together. Stay strong, Steve. You're doing great.